Conversation is going round. People talking about the colors come to town. Fresh as a summer breeze, she'll take you by surprise.
Good morning and welcome to another fabulous episode of Fresh Waves here on Whistle FM. We have a great show. This is part 3 of our 4-part series of organ donation. And we're really happy to be presenting this series about organ donation awareness. It's a vitally important initiative. We're really pleased that through our technical producer, Jason Rumball, we were able to connect with many different people and bring you all kinds of great discussions about organ donation. Before we start the show today, we have to give a big shout out to Reese's Market and Bakery at 5758 Main Street for the muffins that they've provided in the station today and the hot crust buns and all the great things that they do at this time of the year. They have all kinds of wonderful goodies. And this morning I even noticed that they have colorful little macaroon baskets with little chocolate eggs inside. They are so cute and they would look fantastic on your Easter table. They'll just look great. So go on into Reese's Market and Bakery over there at 5758 Main Street and check out all the great things that they have for this time of the year. You won't be disappointed. Jason, thank you for being behind the board this morning and working our technical aspects.
My pleasure there, Brenda, and good morning to you and good morning to our guests, Jan and friends.
Good morning, ladies. Yeah. And good morning to all of our listeners. It is a spring day out there, which puts a spring in my step and makes me feel great. I'm so excited to have a little bit of sunshine and warmer weather. We deserve it here in the north. So joining us in the studio this morning, we have Franz and Jen. And both of them are very active within the organ donation awareness and the Transplant Association and all the things surrounding organ donation. Later in the show, we'll be talking to Ronnie Gabsey, and she's the CEO of the Trillium Gift of Life Network. And after that, we'll be talking with Christine Humphreys, and she's from the Eye Bank of Canada, which is one of the largest eye banks in the world, if not the largest eye bank in the world. And prior to 2 weeks ago in doing this show, I didn't even know there was such a thing.
I never heard of that either.
Yeah. Exactly. So I'm really looking forward to talking to those two women. They have a wealth of information. Over the last 2 weeks, we have invited people to send in their questions and promised that this would be the show this week and next week where we answer the really tough questions. So after we hear about both of our guests, we'll be talking with Ronnie and asking her some really tough questions. If any of you listening to the show have any questions, while we're live on the air, you can get a hold of us in the following ways. Jason?
Yes, you can get a hold of us on our Facebook page, Fresh Waves on Whistle FM. We're also on Twitter at Fresh Waves Radio, and you can call us here at the station 905-640-1027.
Okay. You can also use that contact information, especially the Facebook page, to get a hold of us after the show with any questions that you have, and we will definitely forward the questions on to the appropriate people and get you the answers that you're looking for. We don't want you to not donate because you don't know the answers to your questions. We want you to be able to feel good about making the registration, going to beadonor.ca and registering to be an organ donor, and hey, saving a life. So, good morning, France.
Good morning.
We could parler en français, mais tous les gens may not necessarily understand what we're saying, so we'll keep it in English. Is that okay with you?
Gonna try my best in English, Brenda.
Perfect. I think you're very good at English. It's great to be bilingual.
Absolutely. It's another gift. You know?
It is indeed. You know, they're doing a lot of work with schools, and I don't know if you know that École Pape Françoise is in Stouffville here, and it is a French language school, not French immersion. It is for people who have and can, you have to prove parentage that is French Canadian or French from France. So it's a really cool school, and organ donation awareness is so important. I have these ideas, and I have to share them while I'm on the air. I think it'd be great to do a half hour or an hour French program next year about organ donation and perhaps involve the school, and the kids could share their comments and put forth their points of view.
Absolutely. I'm all in it.
Terrific. I'll talk to the principal and see if we can set something up. I think that would be wonderful. And I know that they would be also interested in having someone who speaks French to come in and speak, because often they have people who are English and blah, and their school is all French.
That's amazing, because we already have a program, which is the High School Outreach Initiative, and I've been called to, or at least I've offered to do it in French, to present either in French or in English. But if the demand is there, absolutely. I mean, we don't miss any opportunity to raise awareness regarding organ and tissue donation.
I know, and last week we had a very interesting guest who, her son died at the age of 10, but he had made his wishes known before his death that he wanted to donate his organs if anything should ever happen to him. These are young people. If we can reach these people and get them to acknowledge their wishes to their parents and have that difficult conversation. Apparently, he stood up at a Thanksgiving dinner and told his whole family to make sure that they registered to be organ donors.
Amazing.
And he was 10 years old. Isn't that something? It's wonderful. So they're never too young. Okay. Give us a little bit, well, we have to say hello to you too. So we have France, who is a kidney donor, and we have Jen, who is a kidney recipient.
Right.
Good morning, Jen.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Great. You look fantastic.
It's the kidney.
It's the kidney, yeah. That's what Jason tells me all the time.
It's a kidney.
He looks great because of his kidney and because of his sister. So, France, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about how you came to be sitting at this table here today and telling us all about being a kidney donor.
Oh, I would say that it certainly started like about 4 decades ago, what brought me here. So my story is not about me, but about my family. So for a few decades, I mean, kidney disease, kidney or renal failure has been in the family. And I'm so well called the blessed donor, since many members of my family had transplants. Some made it to transplant, some didn't. And out of 3 siblings, I'm the only one not having any kidney disease. And
Wow.
yes, it's a wow. It's
you
a
were
wow.
standing in the right lineup when they were handing out those, DNA and all that.
I
gene
call
pool.
it winning at the lottery of life, So I don't think that any amount of money would, surpass that.
Right.
As health is the new wealth, I'm healthy and wealthy all the way. And so since being compatible to donate to my brother 5 years ago, so we just celebrated our 5th anniversary, and looking at my brother living the dream, as he does explain, working full-time, traveling full-time, being a keynote speaker around the world. How couldn't I be sitting here today to do my fair share, my part into raising awareness? So it's by looking at, I think my inspiration is about the recipients of all type of organs. When I see them going, living their life to the fullest, participating in those national and international games. So I look to myself and I said to myself, How can I complain in any way? I can't. I just can't. I just have to keep going. Life is too beautiful. Every day has to be enjoyed to its fullest. And I just want people to know our organ donation can change 1 life, 8 ones, and 75 ones. And I know, being from a family where our father was sick for many years, that all that part does affect the family and the community, because everything revolves around, the dialysis treatments and, being back to the hospital, in and out, getting a call to be on the waiting list for an organ transplant, and at some point not making it. So it gets you to be quite familiar with the whole picture.
Right.
And I think that if I can just keep going on and seeing everything that has been done in the last 40 years some people will say, oh my God, it's kind of tragic that so many members of your family are affected by the kidney failure, kidney disease. But I say, well, let's look at the past to better head on to the forward, going forward. What was not possible in the 70s, now, I mean, it's a piece of cake. And we're just science, when you've just witnessed at first hand or science technology has evolved and what is possible nowadays, and with the living donors, I mean, people signing their cards as being a deceased donor, you've seen it all. You say, wow, there is just magic going there, miracle to happen.
Yeah. Well, that is amazing. We're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we'll hear from Jen, and we'll ask a few questions of the live donor sitting before us today in the studio. Stay tuned. You're listening to Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Bren Masson, host of Fresh Waves. April is Organ Donation Awareness Month in Canada. If you haven't already done so, please go to beadonor.ca and register as an organ donor. It only takes a second, and it's a decision you'll never regret. Be a donor. Save a life. Go to beadonor.ca.
Today I'm gonna try to change the world.
Today we're talking about organ donation awareness. All of our shows are podcasted on the website freshwaves.ca. So if you'd like to hear any of these Whistle FM productions, you can go to freshwaves.ca and listen at your leisure on your computer, wherever you have access to the internet. So we'll continue our discussion now. We've spoken with Franz, who is a kidney donor. And now we get to speak with Jen, who is a kidney recipient. But I want to make it clear that you didn't get her kidney and she didn't get me.
No.
You guys didn't know each other before all the transplanting stuff happened. You met
Right.
through the organ donation. And I can't say enough about the connection and the circle of friends that this organization has produced. Because the one thing that is true of all of the shows that we've done and all the people that we've met is that all of you have met incredible people through this process. What a wonderful thing. That's really great. Okay, Jen, take it away.
Hi. I'm Jennifer Chucci. I'm married and for 25 years. I have one son. And my kidneys failed when he was 4.5 years old.
Oh.
And it was during SARS in 2003.
Oh my goodness.
So
Timing.
it was horrible. So what happened was we had just come back from Disney World. My husband noticed I was tired, and I realized that after work, I reach home around 6 o'clock, and then I have dinner at 7. I take a nap, and then I would go back to bed at 9. I said, something's wrong. I went to the family doctor. He did some blood work and said, my hemoglobin is 67, and I should go to the hospital. I went to the hospital on a Monday. They did the blood work, and within 3 hours, they said to me, do you have kidney problem? I said, no, your kidneys have failed. And they said to me, you have to go get some blood transfusion. I said, that's okay. I'll take the blood transfusion and I'll go home after. They said, no, we have to admit you. I'm like, okay. And then I mentioned to them, I have a son. He's 4.5 years old. So I was admitted on Tuesday. Monday I had contact with my workplace on Tuesday and tell them that I couldn't come to work. My hemoglobin is 67, my kidneys have failed. And then they had to do emergency surgery on Thursday so I can be on dialysis.
Now, do you have a history of kidney disease in your family?
No.
Or anything that you could refer back to and say, well, yeah, it stands to reason because, my great Aunt Zelda had...
There's no kidney disease in my whole family. I'm the only one.
That's amazing. Did you have a serious childhood illness or anything?
No. Nothing.
Wow. Holy moly. If you're tired, go to the doctor, get it checked out. That's the moral of the story. Okay. That's incredible. You must have been in shock.
I was in shock. I was. Because I had gone to the doctor before we had gone on a vacation in June. I had gone to see him 2 weeks before, and he says, Jennifer, you're fine. But I kept on going to him that I felt tired. And he says, it's because you're hypothyroid. That's why you're active. That's why you're tired.
Huh. Okay.
So then, as a result, I lived in the hospital for 3 months because of SARS. So my son wasn't allowed to come and visit me because he could catch SARS or I can pass SARS to him. So the communication with him was over the phone. And then later on, I was allowed to have weekend passes so I can visit him on weekends. I'm very grateful for this organ transplant, the kidney, because I was able to see my son grow up.
Right.
I was there for him when he was graduating from junior kindergarten to kindergarten, senior kindergarten, grade 6, then grade 8, and then from high school. I was able to spend time with him, travel with him, be on parents' council to see him grow up, spend time with my husband and I. We were able to travel. We went to Florida. Then last year we did a lot of traveling with my son. I bonded with him a lot last year.
How old is he now?
He's 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this was quite some time ago, 16 years ago.
Yes. So the transplant is 10 years old. I was on dialysis for 5 years. And when I was on dialysis, they had told me that I have to wait for about 10 years for a kidney.
For a kidney.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were looking for any donor. Did people in your family get tested?
Oh, very good question. My dad came forward, and this was 15 years ago, because I was on dialysis for 5 years, and then kidney transplants 10 years. He came forward, he was about 75, and they stated that he was too old back then.
Okay.
One of my brothers came forward, and they tested him, but he wasn't compatible. Mm-hmm. And then I was on dialysis. I would go to dialysis 3 times a week, and be on the machine for about 4 hours. And then when the phone call came in for the transplant, I was shocked because my antibodies were very high. They said to me that if I get a transplant, my body will reject it. I had a biopsy done that same week too, and they said it was called IgA nephropathy. My own body destroyed my 2 kidneys.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Your body should like your kidneys.
They should, yes.
All right. So you got the phone call. How did that feel?
Oh, I was in shock. I said to them, I don't think you got the right person because, like it's 5 years. You mentioned to me 10 years. And they said, no, you're the right person. And they said, you have to come down as soon as possible. So I took a taxi all the way to Toronto General. Mm-hmm. And I said to them, went to admit, and I said, I'm here for the kidney transplant. They tell me I have to come right here. They said, yeah, hold on. So they took me to the transplant floor and they did more tests. This was around 12 o'clock, and the doctors come in and they talk to me, explain to me about the transplant. I had a booklet, a thick binder of all the procedure. I called all my brothers and sisters and my dad and mom that I'm going for surgery. Yeah, I was.
That they had found a donor. They must have been thrilled, but scared at the same time.
Yes, they were scared.
And you were told that your body would reject it even if you got a transplant. So it must have been a scary place for you to be.
But yes, because I had so many, my antibodies were very high. But this donor, I am blessed because they said my body would not reject this kidney transplant. They did a lot of tests to make sure I was compatible with this kidney.
So you had the highest compatibility?
Yes.
Wow. And so you went ahead with the surgery. What happened when you woke up? Because I know Jason said that when he woke up, he instantly felt better. He knew that he felt better. We had a gentleman on, Eric, last week who had a double lung transplant, and he said when he woke up, he didn't feel great, but he could breathe. And he knew that he was alive and breathing. And it's such an incredible feeling. So did you feel well when you woke up?
When after the surgery, I said to them, I'm ready for the surgery. And they said, we just finished the surgery. Like, I was like, and then they had told me ahead of time that I'm going to be in this room all white, hooked up to all these tubes. So I was prepared for that. And then there was a nurse there, and I said, okay, I'm ready. I want to go out and walk. She says, no. Lots of energy. I said, this is what normal must feel like. For 2 weeks, I had so much energy. I wanted to do everything. It felt really good.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yes.
And it was clear sailing. The surgery went well. Everything was fine. And
No.
no. Okay. So 2 weeks later.
After the surgery, 2 years, 2 weeks was very good, but then I had some, how should I say it, women issues.
Okay.
Yeah. But then after 2 years, it was sailing, really good, feeling vibrant and lots of energy.
And great. Like they have medication that you're on and things like
Oh,
that.
yes.
So it probably takes a while to jiggle it around and make sure that it works exactly right for you. Terrific. Well, it's so nice that everything went well, because here you are today and you have more energy than I do. And I have 2 kidneys working perfectly fine at the moment. Well, as far as I know.
Oh, I've got 3 kidneys.
Oh, you've got 3 because they keep the other ones
Yeah, they
there.
keep the other 2.
Yeah. Yeah, because we had Melody Clausen on. Melody Clausen earlier. She was one of our first interviews this year. She's got 4.
4?
She's got 4 kidneys hanging out in there.
Oh,
She's
okay.
had 2 transplants.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's kind of funny that they don't take the other ones out. So, it's like you've got kidney beans in there.
Yes, yes.
But you feel good now?
Oh, I feel good because when I heard, I was in the clinic and I read about these organ transplant recipients, and they go to Africa to go to all these world transplant games. And I said, I would like to do that. I want to do that. But then when I reach home, I forget about the games. However, when I found out that Toronto was going to have the Canada Games, I said, every day, kept on reminding myself, I'm going to compete, I'm going to compete.
And what did you compete in?
Oh, I was so excited. I'm not good in sports. So I feel it's the kidney that's doing it.
Okay.
I've won medals, and I've never won a medal before. So I entered running, and I did swimming, and I did bowling. I entered 5 sports, and I won 5 medals. I'm very grateful for the organ transplant.
Wow, it must have come from a super athlete.
Yeah.
Some of that energy got transferred into you. That's amazing. That is truly amazing.
Yes.
So before that, you weren't an athlete at all?
No, I wasn't in sports. I never won a medal before.
So how did it feel when you won your first medal? You must have been over the moon.
Oh, I was like, well, I belong to this little kidney group. And I said to them, I'm going to go for swimming because I haven't been swimming for a long time. I'm ready to be in last place for swimming. But I won a bronze. And that was so excited to win a medal, any medal. I was so happy.
That's great.
Yes.
If I won a swimming contest, it would be because I misrepresented myself and went in an over 80 swimming contest. Then I would have a chance of winning a medal. Yeah, but that's amazing. And there you are, friends. You're sitting here smiling from ear to ear. Doesn't it? It makes you feel good, doesn't it?
It does. It does. I mean, to have this opportunity to witness all the little miracles of organ donation, transplantation, and at some point to be a little part of it, to be able to make a difference. And as Jen referred to the games that we are quite involved in, either, as I mentioned, on the national level or the world level, it's incredible. I mean, the community, that's transplant community, is not only local, national, but it's international. And before transplant or donating a kidney or a part of our liver, we knew almost nobody, but we feel that when we meet people that we already know them because we have so much in common.
Yes.
Though we speak different languages, we have different faith. I mean, we have different backgrounds and all that. So for me, it's, wow. I mean, the unity, we always say that the games, it's amazing when we win medals. I got a medal in Vancouver because living donors and family of deceased donors are also invited now to participate to the games. Mm-hmm. And so I do the 5K. I mean, I ran in Malaga, Spain 2 years ago and did Vancouver with Jen this year.
Wow.
And
Yes.
And to have a medal is something because it's always some bling bling to bring home. And but at the same time, it's more for like the camaraderie, the spirit.
It's the definition of community, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
That'd be my phone. We have listeners who are sending us questions. We're going to get to their questions as we take a little break here on Fresh Waves. Hi, this is Bren Masson, host of Fresh Waves. April is Organ Donation Awareness Month in Canada. If you haven't already done so, please go to beadonor.ca and register as an organ donor. It only takes a second, and it's a decision you'll never regret. Be a donor. Save a life. Go to beadonor.ca.
Day I'm gonna try change the world.
On Fresh Waves here at Whistle FM. If you have any questions, you can get a hold of us at the studio. And now joining us, we have Versha from the Trillium Gift of Life Network. Good morning, Versha.
Good morning, Brenda.
Nice to have you on board. Thanks for being our guest this morning.
My pleasure.
And what do you do at the Trillium Gift of Life Network?
So I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Trillium Gift of Life Network.
That's terrific. So we had some questions from listeners over the last couple of weeks that we've been doing this show. People actually are stopping me in the street, which is kind of unusual, but it's unusual in that they don't say, "So how are you and how's the weather?" They say, "Hey, I got a question for you." So I thought we would ask some of the questions this morning that our listeners are asking us. And one that I've heard more often than I can tell you is, "I'm over the age of 60, I can't be a donor anyway."
Right. That's such a common myth that people have, that their age may preclude them from donation. In fact, the oldest organ donor was over 9 years of age. So we encourage people to not rule themselves out because of age, but register.
Okay. And then another person said, "Well, I think I have this condition here, and I have that condition there, and then I don't have skin that's very nice, and it's not very elastic anymore, and then my eyes are really not that great, and of course I've lost so much hair, and then my organs are, I've never really had a good bladder." And I'm thinking, I said, "Well, why don't you let the doctors decide what they can and can't use?"
That's like the perfect response, Brenda, because that's another very common myth, that people think that their previous medical history may preclude them from donating organs and tissue. And, in Ontario, we have made significant advances in technology when it comes to transplantation. We have the world's finest transplant centers that can actually repair lungs. They can improve the condition of organs. And so we encourage all people, regardless of their age or medical history, to register at beadonor.ca and to let healthcare professionals determine at end of life whether the organs and tissues are suitable for donation and transplant. There is testing done at that time to determine whether they are suitable for transplant.
Okay, I know that you've been brought into this I would say at the very last minute, but we had sent some questions in advance, and I know these are not going to be the easy questions. The two I just asked are the easy questions. We had a listener who really wants to know. She said she's always considered organ donation, but if her spouse was to ever pass away, she wants to have an open casket. And can she have an open casket if he's donated his organs?
Yes, that is possible. After donating organs, the recovery of organs is done by physicians and in a very skilled and respectful way. So an organ casket funeral is absolutely possible after donation of organs and tissue.
Okay. And we had another question. A listener said, "I want to cremate my spouse. I'm afraid that there won't be enough left to scatter his ashes if he's an organ donor."
Again, donation does not impact sort of funeral practices and choices that people may have. We at Trillium Gift of Life Network work with families to accommodate any special needs that they have, and cremation is absolutely possible after organ and tissue donation.
Okay, good to know. Another question. A listener says, "I've read about face transplants. How successful is this procedure, or is it still an experiment?"
So face transplants transplant has been done in the world. To our knowledge, and to my knowledge, it has not been done in Ontario. It's a very special transplant procedure, and right now when people register for a donation, they have the opportunity to sign up to donate all organs and tissues or make certain exclusions. Face is not on that particular list, and if there was ever a need for a face transplant, if there was ever a patient that needed a face transplant in Ontario, and if there was the ability to do that, there would be a special request made of the family at end of life for that particular donation.
Now, it's procedure now that the doctors and nurses that are taking care of your loved one at the time of their passing, they're not the ones that deal with the transplant questions and answers. It is the people from the Trillium Gift of Life Network.
Yes. So Trillium Gift of Life Network, we have staff that approach families at end of life to obtain consent for both organ and tissue donation. And we also make sure that the healthcare professionals involved on the donation side and transplant side are separate teams. So there's never a conflict of interest between, because that's another common myth that
Very common
people
myth.
have, that doctors won't work as hard to save their life, which is far from the truth. The first and foremost duty of a healthcare professional is really to save a life, and it's only when a life cannot be saved that the option of donation is introduced.
Is it true that every single person can be a donor?
Every person has the potential to be a donor, and that's at end of life. There is screening that takes place to determine whether that person can donate organs and tissue and whether they're suitable. The one thing that I do want to mention is that the potential for organ donation is really small, which some people may not realize. Like, a patient needs to die in a hospital and be on life-sustaining treatment in order to be an organ donation, whereas the potential for tissue donation is much greater, where one doesn't have to be on life-sustaining treatment in order to be a tissue donor. And by tissue, we mean donation of eyes or heart valves, bones, and skin. Mm-hmm. And in terms of organ donation, we're really talking about kidneys, liver, lungs, pancreas. And so when there is the opportunity for organ donation, given that it is very small and it's estimated to be about 2% of deaths in hospital, that we want to ensure that those donation opportunities are identified and that all families are approached. And when someone is registered, then we're able to share that information with their family, and the families are in a position to honor their loved one's wishes. In the absence of registration, about 50% of families consent to donating, and that's why we highlight the need and the importance of registration, and one can easily do that at beadonor.ca. It literally takes 2 minutes to save a life.
And it does, because I did it this year, because I just thought my old donor card was still valid, and Jason here behind the board, he told me that in fact that's not the case, so I registered. And it honestly takes 2 minutes. I am a computer moron, I must say. I cannot work that thing for the life of me. Nobody can crash a system better than me, and it literally took me only 2 minutes. So if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Absolutely.
It's super simple.
beadonor.ca, simple, easy, takes 2 minutes. And those paper donor cards that you were talking about, the fact is that it is a physical consent of donation, which often at end of life can't be found and can't be relied upon, whereas when you register online, that information is available 24/7. Mm-hmm. And particularly this month is April, is Be a Donor Month, and we're really putting a spotlight and highlighting the importance of donation and the importance of registration. So it's very timely for your listeners to to visit beadonor.ca. They can register, or if they believe they are registered, they can confirm their registration status at beadonor.ca as well.
Okay. Well, we had the privilege earlier in March, actually, of interviewing Toby Boulay and the Logan Boulay effect, and speaking about the fact that because of Logan's donation of his organs, Logan passed away in the Humboldt crash. He, like over 200,000 people have registered now to be organ donors, but there is a statistic that still says, despite all the progress, it's not enough. Every 3 days, someone dies waiting for an organ transplant. That shows that there's still a lot more we can do.
Absolutely. We have 1,600 people in Ontario that are waiting for life-saving transplant, and many of them don't get the transplant in time. The need for transplantation significantly outweighs the availability of organs. And one way we can give hope to patients that are waiting on the transplant list is by registering our consent.
All right. That's good advice. Thank you very much. We really appreciate talking to you this morning, and I guess the basic bottom line is go to beadonor.ca and register today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brenda, so much.
Thanks for talking to us. Well, I think that's a good message, and I think that's something that these shows that we've been doing for the month of April, that's what it's all about, isn't it? And both of you sitting here in the studio today are living proof that it's a really important thing to do.
It is.
Jen's staring at me and she's nodding, and you know it's radio. So, I mean, here we're coming to a holiday weekend. There's going to be all kinds of people across this country having Passover meals or Easter dinners and things like this. The relatives will be together. It's a good time of the year to start talking about this, isn't it?
Absolutely. And just to reinforce what Versa was saying, yes, go to beadonor.ca, and the other important part is have the talk. Have the talk with the family, with the friends, with the loved ones, because we still know that the day that it comes, I mean, they're going to be the one to have the last word on your wishes. I mean, if your wishes were well known or not. So this is very important, because along the way, I mean, we kind of lose potential donors, and it's really unfortunate.
It is indeed, and it's one of those things where if you're vocal about it, if you let people know, then they know. I mean, it's so easy to say, nah, I can't be bothered, whatever. But like Eric was saying last week, when it comes down to it, if you needed an organ, would you say, nah, you know what, I chose not to? Do you choose to be a donor? Would you choose to be a recipient? You know what I mean? It's different when you're waiting for that organ.
I believe that's the best way to address it, as to know if you were to need it, or if your child was to need it. Would you say no to that?
No.
That makes people, I mean, consider it, I mean, in a different way. Yes.
Yeah. Heaven doesn't need your organs. We need them down here.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Great saying.
Heaven doesn't need it.
Yes. And give others new wings to fly by supporting organ and tissue donation.
Yeah. So Jen, when you look back at this whole thing, you've had 10 years. 10 years where your son has had a mother, your husband's had a wife.
Yeah.
How does it make you feel?
Oh, it makes me feel extremely thankful for the family that gave the okay for the person to donate the organs. I've responded, like after we get the organ transplant, we could send letters. I've sent a few letters thanking them and saying, you know, because of the organ transplant, I was able to spend time with my son, to see him grow up, and to give back to the community. I've been volunteering with the Canadian Transplant Association, the Dragon Boat team, the Trillium Gift of Life. I want to bring awareness. I'm also part of that high school initiative. I just started it this year. And I told the story to the students, and they wanted to hear my story. And I'm like, why do you want to hear it? Well, we want to know what you've experienced. Like, how do you feel? It does work. I'm living proof. I have so much energy. If I did not receive this organ transplant, I would have been dead. I'm being honest with you. It's a second chance of living, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. I'm very, very grateful.
And you know, I've been around people now who've received organs, and I sit at this table every week for the whole month of April and even back in March. And it is so inspiring to be with people who appreciate every day. I came to the show this morning, and before I left, I looked out the window into the forest and I said, thank you. I am so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to do the show. I'm so grateful to have these friends and these people that I've met through doing this show. And we need to do that more often. You do it because you've been where there was a chance that you wouldn't be here tomorrow.
That's right.
You've been given the gift of life, and what a beautiful gift it is. Nobody should take it for granted.
No. You think your life changes so differently. Every day is precious. And I want to share it with everyone. Just sign the card. Go to the website. Go to the Canadian Transplant Association. You'll see it. You'll hear amazing stories that, you know, people get to see their family grow up. And I've signed my donor card too. And I said to them, you know, you could take everything, but they said they wouldn't take the 2 kidneys that are not working.
Well, that's understandable.
They would take all the other organs, which is good. I was wanting to give back.
I wonder if they would take the kidney that you had transplanted as long as it's working.
I
Who
believe-
knows? Good question. We should have asked that while we were talking to the Trillium
Very good
Gift of Life. We'll write it down for the next time. Okay, we have to take our top of the hour break. And when we come back from that break, we're going to be talking with Christine Humphreys. And Christine Humphreys is with the Eye Bank of Canada. Now, I will honestly say that 3 weeks ago, when I first started talking about this show, my mom had an eye doctor appointment. She's 89, and we went down to the ophthalmologist, and at the end of her appointment I said, hang on a second, what about eye donation? And he said, yeah, it's a thing. And I said, well, this is what we're doing, and we're doing this show. Can people donate their eyes? And he said, absolutely. Call the eye bank. I said, what's the eye bank? I didn't know there was such a thing. And it's got this really weird connotation. Can you imagine a bank with all these different eyeballs just hanging out on shelves? It's actually not that way. But it's a great thing, and we're going to learn all about it when we come back on Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. You're listening to Whistle FM, Stouffville's community radio station, and we will be back right after this, so stay tuned. Hi, this is Bren Masson, host of Fresh Waves, Whistle FM's Wednesday morning talk show. April is Organ Donation Awareness Month in Canada, so we are bringing awareness to the airwaves with real-life stories of real organ donors, families who have made the difficult decision in moments of extreme tragedy to donate a loved one's organs, and organ recipients themselves. Join us every Wednesday at 10 a.m. to hear these heartwarming and inspirational stories on Fresh Waves. And go to beadonor.ca and register to be a donor today.
Today I'm gonna try to change the world.
I'm your host, Bren Masson, and live in the studio today we have Jen, who is a kidney recipient and has been given the gift of life in 10 years with her son that she may not have had before this. And we have France, who is a donor. She's a walking, talking, breathing donor here. We're so happy to have her on board. And now joining us on the telephone is Christine Humphreys from the Eye Bank of Canada. Good morning, Christine.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Well, we're excited to have you. I was explaining to the listeners before we went for our break that 3 weeks ago, when my mom went for her ophthalmology appointment, she's 89, and I just kind of mentioned to the doctor, hey, we're doing a show on organ donation. Do people actually donate their eyes? And he said, yeah, call the Eye Bank. I said, what? I had no idea. I honestly had no idea that there was such a thing as an eye bank in terms of transplant. I mean, I can imagine there's an eye bank in terms of research, but I was shocked.
Yeah, the Eye Bank has actually, we were established back in 1955, actually, so we've been around for a really long time. It was kind of put together by the CNIB, the Canadian National Institute for the the Blind, as well as the University of Toronto Department of Ophthalmology, and the Canadian Ophthalmological Society. So we've been around for quite some time. We were originally with U of T, and we moved over to Kensington Health Centre back in July 2015.
Wow. So what exactly do you do?
So our mandate is for processing and distribution for donated eyes from all healthcare centres in the province of Ontario. So any donated eyes may come from hospitals, nursing homes, funeral homes, hospices throughout the province. They come to the eye bank, and we will process them, we'll evaluate them, and we'll make a decision on whether or not to release the tissue for surgical or transplant purposes. And when we can't do that, and if we have consent for research and training, we use those tissues for research and training if we can't transplant. So we do everything from donor screening, evaluation. We pre-process the tissue in order to get it ready for the surgeons. We do a lot of stuff here, actually.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, when people say that the cornea replacement, is that under your jurisdiction as well, or is that something completely different?
No, so what we do is, well, not we do, the physicians, they will transplant corneas, they will also transplant sclera, and they will also transplant amniotic membrane, which we provide.
Isn't that neat? Okay, so we've had some questions from listeners, and I think this is the day of our 4-part series that we're asking some pretty tough questions. So somebody said, I'll donate everything but my eyes. How will I be able to see in the afterlife if I don't have my eyes?
Well, I know we think of eyes as the window to the soul, and it's something that is really important. A window in a house is, they say it's the bearer of the wind, the bearer of good news, the bearer of sad news, and it's a common metaphor and expression for saying that the eyes give you insight into their inner world. But the way I see it is, once someone passes away, that soul has left the body, and most organizations, in terms of religious affiliations, they actually support donation, and so donation itself is a good thing, and I don't think anyone would be punished for donating their eyes or their corneas, because in fact you're restoring sight and improving vision and improving quality of life for many other people. Personally, that's what I believe anyway.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so another listener has asked, I would like to have an open casket for my loved one. How can I do that if I've donated their eyes?
So there's two things that can actually happen. You can donate your corneas only, or you can donate your eyes. But all recoveries in the province are done by Trillium Gift-A-Life Network staff, and they take the utmost care and pay the utmost respect to the donors and the deceased when they're doing their recoveries. They take many steps to try and ensure that there's no bruising or swelling, and so they treat the donor very respectfully. Additionally, the funeral homes work with the deceased to restore their appearance after death. So depending on what the donor themselves or the family is comfortable with, they can donate either their eyes or their corneas, although we do have a little bit of more flexibility in the use of the tissue of its eyes. There are times, most of the time in fact, it's just the corneas that are recovered and sent to us.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different options, and if the family is concerned, basically Trillium talks to the family about whether or not there's going to be an open casket funeral, and basically that information is relayed to make sure that the utmost care is taken on that patient when the recovery is done.
Okay. So another question, and it's it's been said over and over and over again, I'm too old to donate my eyes.
Yeah, that's very common. We get a lot of people thinking that they're too old or their eyesight isn't good. And the fact of the matter is anybody can donate their eyes, especially for research and teaching purposes. But in terms of being too old, we'll take any donor. Now, for the most part, we transplant within the ages of newborn to 75. But there's a lot of value in donating for research and teaching as well. We provide approximately 1,700 tissues for training purposes, and probably about 200 tissues a year for research as well. And so these go to provide training opportunities for new physicians who are just learning their craft before they go out and practice on a real patient. So, I mean, it really is the practice of medicine. So having these tissues is quite valuable, whether it's for improving sight, curing diseases, helping understand disease processes better, or training staff, or for transplant. It's all very valuable and hard to come by tissue.
Yeah. Okay. So we have been hearing a lot of stories about organ donation, and how people have been helped. We have had double lung transplant patients on the show. We've had kidney recipients, liver recipients. Tell us a little bit about the people who receive the gift of sight.
So a lot of our recipients have some type of disease process that renders them basically blind, and so there's common diseases in kind of the older populations after the age of 50. They're called endothelial dystrophies, and so basically what happens is the eyes don't function properly. The corneas become swollen and opaque, and people can't see. So if you think about it from a recipient perspective, they can't do their daily, everything that they do on a daily basis. So they can't drive, they can't read the paper, they can't see their grandchildren. It's very hard for them to even maintain employment for many of these people who are younger who get these surgeries that take place. And there are many diseases in younger folks, like keratoconus, which is a thinning of the cornea, which can lead to blindness and perforation and loss of the eye altogether. So if you were to think about all of your day-to-day activities for which you depended on your eyes to enable you to carry out in a normal fashion every day, and you take that away, it's truly a transformative experience for recipients. And there has been a study to say that people with their eyesight actually live longer than those without their eyesight, especially those that have had vision and then lose it. It's a profound impact on their life, and it changes everything. So these recipients are beyond grateful that they can carry out their normal daily activities of life. And we get a lot of letters from recipients to donor families thanking them for the gift of sight. I can't even explain it properly in a way that a recipient could, but it's profoundly impactful.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine. I can well imagine. Now, would it be possible then to use eye transplants for accidents and things like that, where through an accident the eyesight has been damaged?
Yes, that does happen from time to time. Infections, accidents are common reasons why someone may need a transplant. Of course, it depends on the type of accident.
Right.
But ocular tissue is often used for injuries from chemical burns, also from autoimmune diseases that take place in the body. So that's why it's so important to wear eye protection. You never know when something could happen, especially a job-related accident. Those are probably the most common, but even accidents happen. You can get debris and whatnot that enter the eye and result in infection or other process that it's unable, the physician is unable to save the cornea, and they need to replace either the whole cornea or parts of the cornea.
Okay. Well, that's
It's also common for people with cataracts or with
Yes.
glaucoma to need surgery as well. And so the white part of the eye, the sclera, is also invaluable for physicians when doing glaucoma surgeries, especially when they have to implant devices into the eye. So there's all sources of all these different sources of tissue are used for basically many components in the eye to replace it.
it's a fascinating field, one that, like I said, a lot of people don't think about. But it's what a gift! What a gift to be able to give someone the gift of sight.
No, absolutely. It's incredible, and that's why I have such dedicated staff and why we all do what we do. It's amazing to be able to, I mean, many people think of it as a downer and someone's died and it's terrible, and while that is true, at the same time, in your day-to-day work, you're helping people to see again. It doesn't get much better and rewarding than that.
No, it doesn't, and it's like I said, if you don't think about it, it's something that maybe doesn't ever cross your mind. But again, what a lovely gift to give someone.
Yes, I don't think you can ever truly thank someone for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, thank you so much for talking to us this morning, Christine. It's been wonderfully informative and inspiring. I think increasing awareness about what, in fact, you can do by donating your organs is just a wonderful thing to do.
It is. So please, if you haven't registered your consent, go to beadonor.ca and sign up to be a donor today. It's very easy.
All right. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. Well, that was really interesting. And now I know it's radio, and I see France looking like a little dog in the back of the car, just bobbing her head up and down. Isn't it amazing?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think the message there is that do not disqualify yourself in any ways as potentially be an organ or tissue donors. We sometimes, when raising awareness, what we hear, and it goes back to what Christine had mentioned, sometimes the people we meet on the street will say, well, I unfortunately been through through cancer, so I cannot anymore be of a donor. But let the professional do the job, because I was told, and maybe I'm talking through the top of my hat, but eyesight or part of eyes can be transplanted. Even though a patient was in a process of fighting cancer or survivor. So this is at all levels to make a little difference, to make a difference in someone's life, and when it doesn't change anything to yours. As a living donor, that's a privilege, because it just enhances my life. Donating an organ, doesn't change anything in terms of the mechanic or my anatomy. Everything is still functioning perfectly well, and then someone gets the benefit of that.
Yeah.
And so, I also sign my donor card, and beside that, I'm taking very good care of my remaining kidney, because this one, is meant to be for someone down the road. Mm-hmm. When and where, we don't know, but it's gonna be available.
Okay. And Jen, what did you think when you're listening to Christine?
That it's amazing that they've been around since 1950s.
Yeah.
That I didn't know it existed.
I've worn glasses since I was 7 years old, and I never knew there was an eye bank. I've been in doctor's offices since I was a little kid for eyes, and I've never seen a sign that says donate your eyes. Beadonor.ca, donate your eyes. I didn't even know it was a thing.
And if you want to know confirmation that you are an organ donor, you can look at your health card, the new ones, and there's numbers in the back. And that means if you go on the internet, it tells you what the 9 mean, what the 6 means. That means, okay, I'm only donating 6 of my organs, or I'm donating all my organs, or I'm not donating my eyes, I'm not donating this organ, I want to keep this organ. So the new health card has that information on the back of the green health card.
Oh, isn't that
On the back of
neat?
mine, it just says donor on there, but I'll have to have another look and see
Yeah,
if there's
okay.
a number on there.
Okay.
Okay, interesting.
I'm looking at Jason because he's looking really confused. I could say something right now. Are I being nice, Jay?
You're being very nice to You're a good friend.
Okay, actually, I spoke with someone yesterday who went and registered, and they were sent another card in a card in the mail, and they thought, oh, well, it looks the same as my other card. I don't need this card, and then realized that in fact it had different numbers on it. And when
Yes.
she went to the doctor's office, they said, well, no, you should have received a new card because now you're a donor. And she said, no, well, yeah, but oh, all right. So yes, when you get the new card, that's the one you use, not the old one.
And did you hear about Nova Scotia?
Yes.
They've opt out.
The opt-out.
Yes.
Isn't that a wonderful plan? That you assume that everyone is an organ donor and you have to opt out of the program if you
Right.
so choose. And apparently they've been lobbying the Canadian government to do that for years for the country, and it's not gone over well with the federal government. So if anyone has federal government ties out there and you're listening to the show, please remind the federal government that this would be something that as a nation we should look at adopting. Because I think it's a good thing, don't you?
It is.
It's a really good thing. All right, we're going to take a little break. Jason, this is Fresh Waves on Whistle FM. I'm your host, Bren Masson. Jason Rumball is our technical producer behind the board today. And we'll be back right after this brief pause. Hi, this is Bren Masson, host of Fresh Waves. April is Organ Donation Awareness Month in Canada. If you haven't already done so, please go to beadonor.ca and register as an organ donor. It only takes a second, and it's a decision you'll never regret. Be a donor. Save a life. Go to beadonor.ca.
Day I'm gonna try to change the world.
On Fresh Waves, I'm your host, Brendan Masson. This morning in the studio, we have Jen and France. See, I'm not saying France, I'm saying France. Because she is French. And completely bilingual from what I can hear. So, ladies, you guys are constantly going out into the community. You are part of awareness that doesn't take place just in the month of April and then drop off and not come back until next April. This is an ongoing thing with you where you're always out doing something. Tell me about some of the events that you've covered and some of the places where you've been and the people you've met.
So we don't only do it during April because, we need organ and tissue. It's all year long.
Right.
So that's why we have to be everywhere all the time and just grasp this opportunity to talk about organ donation. So being part of the Kidney Foundation, we do fundraise different occasions during the year. So we do the kidney walks that are all over Canada, and many of them are in Ontario from September to October. And we're part of the Canadian Transplant Association. So again, we have many activities that support organ and tissue donation and the healthy life post-transplant for recipient, but including also donors and family of deceased donors. And myself, I'm a transplant ambassador, which is a new initiative with Ontario Renal Network. So what we do, either as kidney recipient or living donor, we are actually in 13 centers in Ontario, and it's a peer support group. So we go to the kidney care clinic, to the hemodialysis unit, to the home dialysis, and we're there to support patient, family, and caregivers in terms of having them by telling our story, answering their question. So to help them through their journey that could be anywhere from their first visit to being close to, end stage of kidney failure. So that's what we do. But it's everywhere that we are, and you'll be surprised that once you have that talk with people that about organ donation, that there is always someone somewhere that knows someone or has a family member that has been diagnosed with such and such condition. And I mean, it has a total ripple effect. And if we can, I mean, through what we're doing, I mean, support and show that organ donation, as much as from a recipient perspective and a living donor, that organ donation works. I mean, organ donation runs. Organ donation, I mean, this is, as I was saying, that's the new wings. And again, I will preach for my own village, but it does change a life. And we tend to say that it's a win-win situation, but at the end of the day, I always say when my brother is not in the picture that I am the winner, because giving is receiving, and knowing that personally I'm healthy and was healthy enough to donate. So that's why I encourage people, and it's not a matter of being a hero. It's a matter of being generous, thinking of the others and what you can do to make a difference. And I will invite people to come and, I mean, walk by my closet and there is no cape hanging there. I mean, people always tend to say, oh, you guys are hero. No, if I was able to do it, you may as well be able to do it and go through that testing that is just a bonus value, because not everybody in Ontario and the world get this opportunity to be tested from head to toe, and knowing that you're healthy enough, or if there are a few bumps in the road, that you will know from then, or they will manage to resolve. So, and then you look at your recipient, or the recipient of the organ you donated, living, I mean, full speed, like if tomorrow will not exist. I mean, this is priceless.
Absolutely. So you were down at the First Canadian Place in downtown Toronto doing an awareness campaign.
Yes. Last April, a year ago, so we were volunteering with the Organ Project there at the RBC Tower, so a very busy corner in downtown Toronto, and distributing brochure. And I mean, with the ups and downs that it brings when you raise awareness, there are the pros and cons, and you have questions. And at one point, a lady is telling me, she said, "Oh, I'm very, very, very busy now. I'm going down to the food court, having my lunch, and no, I cannot donate any organ. I mean, I've been through cancer." I said, "But you know that your eyes could potentially be donated for the gift of sight." So there she was, going for a lunch. On her way back, she stopped by me and she said, "You know, if I have something that I can tell you today, thank you. Thank you for bringing that to me. And I will go online and I will register, knowing that I could, even though I went through cancer, that my eyes can potentially make a difference." So I said, "Well, dear, you just made my day."
Absolutely. If that's the only thing that happened in that entire day, it was a worthwhile day.
Absolutely.
That's incredible. Jen, you've been furiously scratching away there on your little paper, and so I know you have something to say. Short of jumping up and down and putting your hand up in the air saying, "Pick me," I know you have something to say.
Where to start?
Where to start? That's right. Because there's so much information I want to share with.
Okay.
That I joined the Team Transplant Dragon Boat team, and I'm like,
Okay, what's a dragon boat?
It's like 20 paddlers. There's a drummer and there's the captain in the back. Oh. And there's a whole bunch of dragon boat people with the paddlers. And the big one is called the GWN down at Ontario Place. It's free to attend. And we're the only organ transplant team in Toronto that competes down there. And
so
it's
you must know Melody because she's been involved in that dragon boat.
Yes. And I'm like, "Don't you have to be muscular?" No. So I'm like, "Okay, I'll try it." So I just joined it. Last year was my second year. And I'm good. It's so good because we all have something in common to talk about, transplant. So when I meet them, which organ did you get? And, you know, it's a social thing, and it's also bringing awareness. We have a table, we have a booth. We talk about the to be a donor and the green ribbon and signing up, and we tell people our stories there.
And I heard that of all of the dragon boats in the competition, you guys have the most fun.
Oh, that's good to hear.
I'm sure.
I've heard other people say, they're a great bunch of folks over there. They're having a blast.
Yes, we do have fun there. Yes. And then I also help out with the Canadian Transplant Association if they want volunteers to come out. Like the Green Shirt Day down at Toronto City Hall.
Yes.
A group of us went down there to show appreciation, and the Toronto sign was lit up for green, and we had a get-together down there.
That sounds great. I thought Jason was down there too, weren't you, Jay?
No, I was in Richmond Hill at the arena there.
At the arena in
Yeah,
Richmond Hill.
the
I
Tom
saw
Graham.
pictures.
Yeah.
You're very
Yeah.
active on Facebook.
I sure am.
put a lot of
Lots going on. It's been a busy month.
Happy Jay all the way.
Happy Jay all the way. That's
Facebook
right.
today.
Exactly.
There you go.
And then there's a kidney walk. I volunteered first time last year, High Park, and that's around October. And then at Mississauga, and then I volunteer with the Trillium Gift of Life.
So you're really busy.
Yes, I'm busy because I want to show appreciation. That to tell people, please sign your card. You have nothing to lose. Like you're passed away.
Only everything to give.
Yes, and then Toronto General Hospital is having organ awareness this month on April 23rd. Please come and meet some of the organ transplant and donors. There'll be heart transplant recipient, lungs, kidney. And then guess what? St. Michael's Hospital is celebrating the 50th anniversary of organ transplant.
50.
50, yes, 50. And that is this April 26th, next Friday.
So there's a lot going on, and you can go to I'm sure you can go to the Kidney Foundation's website, and you can
Go to the Canadian Transplant Association website. The Be a Donor to Trillium Gift of Life.
Right.
St. Michael's Hospital, Toronto General Hospital.
Yeah. And Jason, you're out of St. Mike's, aren't you?
That's right. Yeah.
Your doctors and everything are out of St. Mike's.
That's right, and that's where I go to more about my fistula to find out what's the problem is there, because the fistula isn't buzzing right now, so I have to go and see the.
But you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm buzzing, but not the arm. Yeah, so we
Okay.
got to find out why the arm isn't buzzing, and then get that figured out for.
I think they're just going to zap you.
maybe that's all they have to do is just zap me, and then.
Give you a little jolt.
Exactly. That's
There
it.
you go. Well, tell them that Happy Jay all the way. That's how it works, so they have to fix it.
Of course. Oh, they will.
Okay.
They'll do a good job.
Well, I have some interesting statistics here from the Trillium Foundation. And they say that in 2018, there were 2,413 tissue donors, an increase of 85% over the last 10 years. And I think that's probably got something to do with the Logan Boulet effect. That sparked such a giving and a registration to be an organ donor all across this country, like we said earlier, with over 200,000 people registering, more than 200,000 people registering on account of Logan, and what a great kid he was, and just has sparked a nation into a movement that we hope will carry on in his name and in honor of people like him, who even at such a young age we're aware of how vital it is to donate and to register. It's something that we want to keep going, isn't it?
And we will, because this year was the first Green Shirt Day to ever happen.
Yes.
And from our understanding, and we're sure about it because we're going to carry it on, I mean, that's going to be also next year. So we proudly wear our green in April 7 of every year, if I'm not mistaken. It's going to be Green Shirt Day, and this is just to grow. I mean, a lot of work done, but still much in progress.
Much in progress and catching on like wildfire.
Yes, especially if you go on social media and you type in hashtag Green Shirt Day, you could read about the amazing story in all of Canada, and it's been recognized as Green Shirt Day. All the provinces celebrated, and you can also hashtag Logan Boulet effect.
Yeah.
Lots of stories.
Yeah. Well, and then you can also go to my website, freshwaves.ca, and listen to the interview with Toby Boulet, Logan's dad, and hear the backstory, hear how this all came to be. And they said In 2018, 333 deceased donors and 2,413 tissue donors. Wow. Excuse me. And 1,236 organ transplants. Wow.
Wow, that is amazing.
Okay, we're going to take a little break and hear the weather and things like that. And when we come back, we'll continue our discussion on organ donation. Stay tuned. Hi, this is Bren Masson, host of Freshwaves, Whistle FM's Wednesday morning talk show. April is Organ Donation Awareness Month in Canada, so we are bringing awareness to the airwaves with real-life stories of real organ donors, families who have made the difficult decision in moments of extreme tragedy to donate a loved one's organs, and organ recipients themselves. Join us every Wednesday at 10 a.m. to hear these heartwarming and inspirational stories on Fresh Waves. And go to beadonor.ca and register to be a donor today.
Today I'm gonna try to change the world.
Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson, and we're talking with Jen and France about organ donations, kidney donations, and all these fun things. I just want to finish the list of statistics that we've received from the Trillium Foundation, and they said 1,236 organ transplants happened in 2018. In 2018, 1,630 people were on the transplant list waiting for organs. And in 2018, 252,581 new registers for organ donation. That is a record-breaking number in Canada. And it's largely in part from the Logan Boulet effect and the Green T-shirt Day. So thanks to everybody who has registered. Thank you to everyone who has voluntarily decided that they want to be part of this gift of life. It's a wonderful thing. And for those of you who have just tuned in or are new to this whole process, the Trillium Gift of Life Network is a Government of Ontario agency responsible for planning, promoting, coordinating, and supporting organ and tissue donation and transplantation across the province, and for the continually improving the system that makes more lives be able to be saved. That was kind of a paraphrasing, and it wasn't that flowing, but I'll fix it later. Okay, so Franz, you were telling me about some of the thoughts you had before you donated to your brother.
Actually, the first thought were if I'm able to make a difference, since I'm from a family, carrying that kidney disease, as an inheritance. And so it was about making a difference. There were no much of a fear. I don't know, possibly because I got that second call that I couldn't answer 20 years prior, when it would have been time to donate to our father, who couldn't unfortunately make it to transplant. So there was that second call. And the thing was, that day, I still remember, a beautiful day in August 2012, living in the Georgian Bay area, brother calling from Toronto and telling it, not asking, because if you ask and talk to any organ recipient, they will say, we cannot ask such a thing. It's more about telling. So my brother is there telling me where he's standing in his numbers, about his kidney failure getting closer to the end stage, and that within a year and a half he would need a kidney, and he was kind of looking for a living donor. And so after that long talk, I then turned to my husband and I said, he said, well, France, you don't seem to understand what's going on. I said, no, I totally get it. But I said, what if something was to happen to you? Talking to my husband, just in case if in life his health condition deteriorates and he needs a kidney. And then he told me, France, listen for a minute. You're the one who tells everybody to live in the moment, that it's now happening. So what is need for a kidney now? I said, my brother. He said, well, if that's the approbation that you needed for that, let's go. So through the whole process of testing, so we were still having time ahead, because this is the difference between a recipient who has been closely monitored by the nephrologist and having a living donor. A surgery is a plan one. So we have a date. I mean, we can choose, we can see how everything goes on. So unfortunately, my brother, made like about a year and a half in between the time the nephrologist told him, well, it's going to be dialysis or transplant. And his head was, well, if it could be transplant, we'll go with that option, that treatment, since it's not, neither of them are a cure. But the day of the surgery, everything was very emotional, and having to go to the hospital the very same morning with my brother. It's February, early morning, it's cold, and it's happened to be our wedding anniversary to my husband and I, and it's the same day that I'm going to donate a kidney to my brother. And so it's just that I so hope it's gonna work. All the way it's about, I hope it's gonna work. I was ready, so well prepared and cared for by the team at Toronto General Hospital. You have the nephrologists, the nurses, the social worker, the psychologists that look after everything, because that's donor's life that matters most. Prior to donate, as was explained when it comes time for a deceased donor, there are two different teams taking care of the assessment. So one for the donor and one for the recipient. But that morning, I was very joyful, emotional, hoping that everything will go well. And it's just like almost 5 years later that my brother, when we were interviewed by TGH 3 weeks ago, that said during an interview that what he had wished on that morning, that God forbid, and this does not happen very often, but you have to be prepared for the reality that, he would wish me to be alive, healthy, and happy for many years. And on my side it was, well, the only thing is, I so hope it's going to work. And it did. Sorry, because we are on air, but the kidney started to work right on the table. So, for someone who has been suffering from kidney disease and having a kidney functioning, being as a total new dimension. Beside the energy that a recipient is getting right after transplant. Right. So it was not more of questioning for me. I think since I'm the blessed and privileged one in the family, that somewhere, somehow, among three of us, two siblings, that they spared me for something. It was to share my spare parts. And there we are.
That's a great way of looking at it. That's a great way of looking at it. What a wonderful gift. And for you, Jen, when you wake up and you feel so energetic and you're looking at spring coming again, it must be wonderful to see another spring coming.
Yes, be good. Go out and enjoy life. And I am going to go for the the World Games. My first time competing. It's going to be in England this year.
And you're going to England?
I'm going to England. I have to go and practice.
So what are you competing in?
Well, I hope I could do it because I'm a scout leader also, and I injured myself. I stepped on ice, one step, and I broke my wrist. So the cast just came out last week. So I put down my name for two sports, bowling and swimming.
Well, bowling really needs a wrist.
Yeah, but and then swimming. I'm not going to do running. No.
Why not?
I don't want to fall because I fell down just on the ice.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. You'll do it the next time.
It'll be exciting. I've never been there. And
never been to England?
I have been to England, but I haven't competed in the World Games. All these other.
So these are the World Games. So they're actually all countries from the world, like kind of like the Olympics of transplant.
It's a mini. Yeah.
Yes, there are approximately 60 countries that do participate. Wow. So they are recipients from age 4 to 80s in all type of disciplines and all type of organ transplant. And as of if I'm not mistaken, again, in Malaga, Spain, where I participated actually as a road race doing the 5K there as a living donor. Since living donor and family of donors are also part of that big family reunion. So that's what is happening. And I mean, people will go run, swim, cycle, I mean, throw balls, kayak, depending on where it is. And what I can say, and I was telling Jen, was going to our first World Games that I had to decline because too busy for this time, this year. But what is very phenomenal is that the discipline that you get, the possibility to look as, I mean, witnessing, let's say, for instance, swimming, it could be the 400K, not K, but meters and all that. Mm-hmm. This is always about the participant that finishes last. That is the most applause, because the point is to be able to make it.
Right.
And when you see the one that are like gazelle, I mean, finishing, let's say, the 5K in 16 minutes or so, and they will still be waiting for, let's say, the last laps or so, and finish the run with someone who maybe took an hour to do it, but still made it. Yeah. So it just shows how it can be, and it's almost an addiction. We've done the Toronto
one,
Toronto
the
Games,
Vancouver one.
Yes, and this year we were in Vancouver, and in between you have the World Games, and the World Games are really there to promote health among the recipients after getting an organ and taking care of that baby. Because I mean, it's something very precious to recipient, and the recipient are always there to honor the donors and the family of the donors that they don't know.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a gathering that, when given the opportunity to attend, that you don't want to miss. Mm-hmm. And we have. Beside the World Transplant Game, or an initiative from the World Transplant Game, it was called then Fit for Life, rebranded to Refit for Life. Refit for Life, yes, exactly. And it's everywhere in the world. They've got ambassadors, and we're blessed enough that my brother is one of the ambassadors for Canada, and it's still a new initiative of 2 years, but in having activities and to have recipients to connect about their health, and not necessarily just about when is your next appointment or on what type of meds are you, but what can we do together? I mean, to live a healthy, balanced life through exercise. And that said, I mean, for most recipients, they were not necessarily athletes prior to getting.
Not you.
No, exactly. I mean,
sorry, Jen.
That's okay. No, and I choose to run my first 5K in Malaga, Spain. Well, I could have done it in the backyard along Lake Ontario, but I mean, the inspiration was there. So the all type of initiative that's always about broadening up the spectrum and making sure that everybody in the transplant community have and feel that support. If there is one thing we don't want, is to patient going through that alone by themselves. I mean, there are tools out there. There are people, and again, by being like example or having a stories, since they are a story behind every single person that you meet, which is totally amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, why not to be there for them all?
Right. Now, in our first show, if anyone wants to hear the first show, you can go to the website freshwaves.ca and look underneath the organ donation awareness shows. And episode 1, we had a lady named Megan who has already donated a kidney and is about to, in the month of May, donate a part of her liver. And wearing a scarf with butterflies on it, because the butterflies symbolize the rebirth and the new life and the change. One of the things that she was mentioning, and you can hear it in the interview, is how healthy you have to be. The testing for a live organ donor is quite extensive. And it all comes down to what you were just saying about healthy living and your responsibility, if you're going to be an organ donor, to be as healthy as you can be so that your organs are healthy for donation and that you are going to come out okay on the other side. So it's a really involved process, and Megan does a great job of describing it in the first episode of these shows. I want to thank you ladies for coming on this week, for bearing your souls, telling us all about yourselves and sharing your stories with other people. I think it's the stories of the real people that are going to make the difference. We've been talking about organ donation for years, but it wasn't until the real story of Logan Boulay, a real young man who made the decision 5 weeks before that Humboldt accident to become an organ donor and wanted to wait till he was 21 so that it was his decision and his responsibility alone. That we have Ryan, who at the age of 10 decided in episode 2 that he was going to be an organ donor and told his whole family that they should all be organ donors. These are really inspirational people, and they've contributed to a nationwide organ donation registration that we've never seen before in this country. And to have you two here to tell your story is really, really special. And I'm very, very thankful and grateful that we've had the opportunity to speak with you and that you were brave enough to come on the radio. I know you were saying you were nervous, France, about coming on the radio. Oh, the microphone is here, and now you're speaking of it, and I'm getting nervous. You've spoken all over the place.
This is one more opportunity that life had to offer me. So why not?
Exactly. Why not take it?
Exactly.
And Jen, you're going to England to participate in the World Games.
Yes.
I can honestly say that I now know a person who's going to participate in the World Games.
Yes, I will. It's going to be exciting. My husband's going to be going.
That's incredible.
And with
Can
this,
you sign my run sheet so I can say that you were here and I knew you went?
And we knew that you were going to win.
yes, I'm going to
I
win.
will be rooting for you all
Thank
the
you
way.
so much. Yes, it's going to be exciting. I'll meet more friends from different countries. Like going to Vancouver was different. Like going to a different province with my son and interacting, meeting other people from other provinces, talking about their organ transplant story was just a bonding event. And then I'm keeping in contact with them on Facebook. It's really
That's terrific. That's a great use of social media. It gets a lot of flack, but boy, that's a great use of social media. You've been listening to Fresh Waves, a Whistle FM production. I'm your host, Brenda Masson, and our technical producer is Jason Rumball. Tune in every Wednesday at 10 a.m. for Fresh Waves here on Whistle FM, 102.9 on the FM dial and whistlefm.com anywhere in the world. Fresh Waves is available on podcast too. Just go to whistlefm.ca or freshwaves.ca. We podcast all of the Fresh Waves shows so that you can listen at your leisure. Fresh Waves. It really is